welcome to yet another educative, another exciting episode of Sista Talk. I mean, it's always such a pleasure. That 1 hour just passes by and we're like, what? God, you had so much in store for us. And today is no different because we have an amazing guest, a lady who God has molded. God has done a work in her life and she is ready to speak. She is ready to go. Someone said the verse that in the Bible that says, whoever has a son has a testimony. And imagine it's your story as well as mine, because every time that God does something in your life, you just want to go out and share that with someone. The comfort you have received, you would want to pass it on to someone else. So welcome, in case you're joining us for the first time, this is Sista Talk on Elevate TV. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube. In case you want to rewatch and watch some other episodes that we have had, just go on YouTube. Kachini, have fun, just get to learn and listen from and learn from other sisters and other mothers and other friends, ladies who can be a blessing to you. So our guest is here today. She is a wonderful woman of God. I don't want to introduce, as always, I don't do justice to people's introduction, so I'll let them do it for themselves. But my name is Nenoh, Ndiema, and it's a pleasure having you today. Welcome, Janice.
Thank you very much.
What a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Please introduce yourself, because sitaki kuharibu.
Okay, I am Janice.
Okay.
Kinuthia. In a nutshell, I'm a born-again Christian. I'm a mother of 3 wonderful kids.
Aww.
I'm a banker.
Wow.
By profession. And I'm a mental health advocate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mental health advocate.
Yes.
They are even advocates. I thought they were only those in the High Court.
No, they're there in mental health because
Wow.
we want to go out there and
Okay.
make sure that people are aware about what mental health is.
It's all about.
Yes.
Wow. Like, how did you ever find yourself in that space of being an advocate?
Who would have thought? I did not know anything about mental health. Well, the little I knew is probably what you've read in newspapers and stuff. And it's until 2018.
Yeah.
So in 2018, I was volunteering in church.
Okay.
In the youth church. And this Sunday, there's one of the boys who used to be very popular. He was always the fun boy. He was always that kid who everybody likes.
Yeah.
So he came to church normally on a Sunday. And then after church, in the evening, we got news that he had committed suicide.
Yeah. Oh,
So
no.
that was a shocker. It was a shocker to us as volunteer teachers,
Yeah.
but even more to the kids who were with him in that class, because they were wondering, we were with him in church today. What happened?
Yeah.
What didn't we see?
Yeah.
So after that, the church decided that these kids probably needed some help. So they agreed that they would try and get some counselors within the church to try and just speak to the kids and make them understand how this could have happened.
Yeah.
So in that time, there's one of the counselors that was invited to come, came and spoke to the kids. And as she was speaking, I was thinking, oh, wait a minute. She's talking about sleep as one of the triggers of mental issues. She's talking about stuff that I have experienced, but I didn't know what it was. So during that time, I just listened and just, I was listening and thinking, wow. And then after that, I went and reached out to her in her clinic. I said, let me just go process these things, because I was a bit concerned about how is it that maybe what I've been going through could be something else than what I thought it was.
Okay.
So I did. So I went and saw her. And when I went, all I knew is that I was struggling with sleep. That is, so I thought she would tell me, go take.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, she's taking me back to, where were you born? How many siblings? I'm thinking, how is this related to sleep? So I listened to her, and then first I was confused. And then she said, we have to try and go back, because sleep is just sleep, or the lack of it, because it could either be too much or too little.
Really?
Is a symptom. And we want to go to the cause. So that's how my mental health journey started.
Interesting.
And then she said, I think there's something here that we need to investigate.
Interesting.
And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you can't be telling me that I have a mental condition. All I needed was sleep medicine. So after the first encounter with her, I took off, because I was like, no, I don't think this is what I came for.
Yeah.
I came here just to be told, if you do this, you will sleep better. But she's sort of digging in and trying to say stuff that I wasn't ready to deal with at the time. So I disappeared on her.
Yeah.
And I went on to just my life.
Yeah.
And then at work, we were having some some training at work. So they said, before you go to the training, there's some pre-course work that you need to do. It was a leadership training, so they wanted to see stress levels of the people before. So I filled in, it was online. I filled in, I sent it out. The report came, I didn't even look at it, so I went for the training. I just carried my report.
Yeah. You haven't looked at the report? I haven't looked at
the report, because it's one of those things where you're having so many things going, and you're thinking this report is just one of those many reports. So I went with it. Then at break time, this guy who was lecturing us says, "Who is Janice?" And I'm thinking, wait a minute. He was a foreigner. He had come from South Africa. So I'm thinking, okay, how does he know my name? So he said, "I'd like to see you for a second during the tea break."
Yeah.
And I was a bit concerned, so I said, okay. So when I met him, he said, did you manage to look at your report? I said, no, I hadn't managed to look at it. So he said, your stress levels are extremely high.
Goodness.
I was like, yeah. So he says, now I think this is something that needs to be investigated. Are you getting help for it? So I told him, I was honest. I said, I'd seen somebody once, and then I never went back. He said, no, this is serious. This is serious.
As you were filling in the form, I'm just curious to hear, as you were filling in before it came out as a report, did you sense that what you're answering is negative, or you just filled in not knowing?
It's those forms that 100 questions, yes, no.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even thinking that there's anything that, is going to come out of this that is serious.
So according to you, you're okay?
According to me, all I knew is that I had sleep issues. I once in a while I would have anxiety. I didn't think it was an issue. Yeah. So when he told me that, I realized, oh my goodness, I probably need to go back to this lady.
Yes.
So I went back politely, and I told her I'm back. So she said, yeah, I knew you would be back.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So now we began the conversation, and we had many sessions, and it was difficult to accept her diagnosis because now she was telling me that I have something called CPTSD, which means complex post-traumatic stress disorder.
Interesting.
I'm like, what is this? So she says, when you've been through trauma, and this could be any trauma, like for instance, if you've had, say, a bad car accident, there was a terrorist attack, like the Westgate, or somebody close to you has died, or you've gone through abuse, you suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Interesting.
So she says this is what you're going through because of certain things that you went through when you were younger, and we need to do something about it. So it was hard to accept that, wow, that I have a condition that even has a name. Yeah. So, and then she said, okay, let's try and do therapy. So we had sessions, we spoke, but after some time she said, I don't think this is working on its own. We probably need to get you on some medication for some time to have your brain regulate, and then you'll be out of it. Goodness. So all that was extremely difficult to accept because when I went in, I was going in to just sort out one problem that I thought I had, which was sleep. Yeah. And then to realize that this was just a symptom of many other things. So had she treated the sleep, then it would have kept coming up because then you're just treating a symptom. So that's how I got to learn about mental health.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, that must have been a shock in itself. You just went in knowing, I just have sleep issues, and then you come out and you're told, after the whole process, you're told, by the way, you even have something that's even more serious that you need to attend to. Yeah. Why do most people quit at that point? Because I think, would everyone want to, from what you have experienced with being an advocate and talking to people, do people like to go that journey of discovery, or it's a difficult one to do?
Most people would say ignorance is bliss. I'd rather not know, because then if I know, then it means I have to deal.
Yes.
So people would rather not go there.
True.
Would rather not go there. Would rather just say, you know what, give me some sleeping pills. Let me sleep. And especially because, you know, mental issues are, just looking at our history. True. When you think about who do you remember who was said to have a mental condition growing up, it was the mad guy in the market.
In the market, yes.
It was the person that if you were told is unwell, then you would not want to go anywhere near him because you thought they would get violent. You know, they were totally unstable. So with that in mind, we haven't quite understood mental illnesses. we still think about it in the old context of a madman.
Yeah.
So to think that I will say that I have that, which means then people may perceive me a certain way.
That's crazy.
As crazy.
Lack of
as
a better
crazy.
word. Yeah.
I would rather not deal.
Yeah.
I'd rather just say, you know what, I'm okay. I'm okay. Let me just struggle with it on my own. That's why there's stigma around it.
Yeah. Interesting, because I'm wondering, did you get to a point where now you had to share with people or share with family, or you also had to go through that period of thinking this is stigmatized and I wouldn't want people to really view me a different way?
I was lucky to have a good therapist.
Oh, wow.
Because, of course, what happens when you discover you have something that is of a mental nature, then you self-stigmatize yourself.
Really?
You know, it's almost like before even anybody tells you anything, you're thinking, I am not okay, I am not fit, I am all those things. You know, so it took a while for me to get through the fact that, you know, the brain is just like the lungs, it's just like the heart. And when you hear that somebody has a heart problem, you are not running away from them.
True.
Yeah. When you hear somebody has a lung problem, when you hear somebody has broken their leg, when you hear somebody has cancer. So why is it that when somebody's brain, which is an organ like any other, is struggling, then we look at it differently? So once I understood that this is a disease like any other, that the brain is an organ like any other, and it can be unwell, and it will be well, then it was easy to share.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was easy to share. And I realized through sharing just how people don't get it. People don't understand. We still think of it a certain way. So for me, my thing is, let me talk to as many people so that when you see it in yourself or a friend or a loved one, then you look at it differently, not like something to be ashamed about. Then you can get the help that you need.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just listening to it. I'm like, wow, how many people are probably suffering in silence, or probably wondering what's wrong with me, but they're not able to just go out and get help because of the stigma.
You know, the thing is, the statistics are 1 out of 4 people
will
experience a mental illness in their lifetime. 1 out of 4. Do the math. Do the math in your family. Do the math with your friends. Do the math where you work. It tells you this is not a number that we can ignore. So it tells, and then because we don't hear it often enough, it means people are either hiding it or they don't know. So that's why it's so important. Yeah. And then 50% of mental illness starts by the age of 15 and 75% by the age of 25.
15?
Yeah. So what it means is that the kids in our house are probably struggling with something.
Wow.
It could be anything. It could be bullying in school.
Yeah.
And then your child comes home and tells you, Mom, I'm being bullied. And the way you react, they decide, I can't talk to her. And then they start, you know. That's how early it starts. By the age of 24, if 50% of these illnesses are by the age of 24, this means our kids in the universities just getting into the work front are struggling.
Oh my goodness.
You know, so it is not something that we can look at and just say, you know what, let's brush it aside.
Yeah.
It's something that we must take extremely seriously, so that right back to, you know, as parents, do we even know how to notice it in our children, so that then we can ask the right questions, we can ask them, we can get help, because children, things come out in terms of behavior. You know, so you'll see the child has changed in behavior, and then you treat the symptom. So you treat the behavior, so you punish them.
Of course, thoroughly.
You know, you haven't solved the problem. But how about asking, you know, what's going on? Something has changed. Since you went to this school,
my goodness,
something has changed.
You know, I'm listening. Oh, my goodness. All right. Now, for you, because that was the first encounter you had with mental health, did you have to now gain knowledge for yourself? Because it was a rather new field. I mean, it was something new. Is it something you now had to go and read through? I'm just asking that for someone who is thinking, this mental health thing has been said. Nowadays, we really hear it a lot. But you still don't know. Is it knowledge that we can just gather from everywhere? Are there focus groups? Can someone begin to get information or knowledge about mental health?
Mental health is right now, it's almost, I mean, you hear it everywhere. People are talking about mental health. And unfortunately, we don't have as many spaces that, you know, you can sort of go get information. So for me, what I did, number one, I started to read.
Really?
I started to read and research.
Okay.
And I made a decision that I was going to go back to school and study psychology, because I said, you know what, I have experienced it. I also want to understand the science behind it, so that then I can be able to help people. So this information is out there. You can get it, you can read about it, because I think it's so important to understand what is mental, because there's mental health and there's mental illness.
Help us.
Mental health is basically the health of, how do you make sure that you're mentally healthy? What are the things you can do?
Okay.
You
is
don't
that still mental health, well-being?
Mental health is it's just the way we say physical health. How do I take care of my physical health? I exercise, I do this, I eat right. So how do you take care of your brain to make sure that it is healthy, so that you don't become unwell, then you go into a mental illness?
I like that.
So those small things that you can begin to do for yourself. One of the things I discovered for myself was exercising. When you move, anytime you're moving, walking, running, swimming, whatever that is, it really helps your mental health, not just your physical health. So I realized if I walked, I felt better.
Wow.
So as I walked, I felt better mentally, I felt better physically. So the other things that people do, you can journal. But something that is very important is making sure that you have a safe space. Because remember, when you start feeling something, who do you talk to?
True.
Who is that safe person that you can go and say, you know what, I'm not okay. And then they can say, let's talk about it. What are you feeling? So also getting yourself into support, having a good, safe support system around you also really helps your mental health.
That's true.
So that there's a place that you can go before it becomes, because with everything, just like with physical health, early intervention is everything.
Right.
The first time you're not sleeping, the first time you're feeling a certain way, if you deal with it, then it doesn't get compounded and become something bigger. So just being able to be aware that if I'm not sleeping right, or if I'm sleeping too much, if I'm feeling sad, if I'm losing concentration, if I'm suddenly feeling like I want to just be withdrawn, if my appetite has changed, it doesn't necessarily mean I have a mental illness, but it's something to investigate. You could just say, what, something has changed over here. What could be going on? I think you've even just mentioned, you've sort of read my mind, that the triggers, you've said that this, the lack of support, or are they as many as? They're as many. They're different. That's why I'm saying they're extremely different. From one person could be sleeping 1 hour a night, another person doesn't want to wake up, wants to sleep the whole, can barely get out of bed.
So how do I know then that I'm not okay?
Because you have seen a change in you. If you understand yourself, you will know, suddenly I'm sleeping 2 hours, I was sleeping 8 hours. And that's when you just ask, what's going on with me? What's going on with me? It just starts from there. And then you just sort of watch it and say, something is off.
That's true.
Yeah, something is off. And then just like the way when you feel a certain way, maybe some pain, then you say, it's happened 1 day, 2 days, let me have it checked. Same thing, same thing.
Don't lose your sleep.
Suddenly, suddenly I'm feeling extremely low. Or some people start having thoughts of self-harm. You're feeling like life is, is not worth it. What has changed? Have it in. But you see, if you don't know what to do, then you just sit with it, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And before you know it, now you have to, get medication. Probably you could just have dealt with it with a therapist.
Without medication. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. God help us. Because I'm thinking that 15-year-old, if they are to have a safe space or some help at 15, they don't have to get to the place where you're saying.
Absolutely.
That,
Because you see, it stays, it almost like it festers in the brain, and then it shows up at some point. So it could show up one day, and it will show up in your relationships. It could show up in your work. But had you dealt with it then you would have been, okay much earlier.
Are you then saying that trauma, you mentioned something about trauma, and I'm just thinking, what causes trauma? Is it the big things? Can it also be small things? How does trauma come about on someone?
Trauma could come from anywhere, literally. It could come from feeling, it could even start from a child feeling unappreciated. You know, the way siblings, sometimes you
Yeah.
feel like one is liked, one is not liked.
Yeah.
And then you start, you know, it just festers.
Yeah.
It could be something bigger than
Yeah.
that. Something happened, somebody
Yeah.
close to you died. You know, it could be something you watched. It could be somebody was abusive to you. It could be one of those things that, you know, like one day you are walking and there's a terrorist attack. That's trauma in itself.
trauma.
So it can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
It can come from
So
absolutely
once
anywhere.
we know that this is a traumatic or was a traumatic experience, are you suggesting then that we should most likely get help then, instead of just letting, you know, instead of ignoring what you're feeling and what's going on in your heart or what's going on in your mind?
Okay, let me give an example.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if somebody very close to you, say, passes on,
Yes.
there is, of course, the grief period.
Yeah.
But if it goes too long, that now you can't function, you're
Yeah.
not, then it tells you something is off. You're
Yeah.
struggling with dealing with this grief.
Yeah.
That maybe you need to process it
Yeah.
with somebody.
Yeah.
So it's about learning when is it normal,
Yeah.
and when is it needing more help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can, because sometimes, I mean, we all go through different types of traumas, and you bounce back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're seeing like you're taking longer,
Yeah.
or it's bothering you,
Yeah.
it's affecting
Yeah.
you, then it's good to get
It's good to get
get help.
You know, I've heard you also say this, the part of it could be childhood. You know, it's different from, I think, trauma that you're a grown up or you're someone who can understand is, it's easy for me as a person to place it and say, okay, this didn't leave me feeling right, or this was too much for me to handle. But what about the example you've just given of a child feeling unappreciated? How then do you begin to, are there things that can be pointers just to help us know, hey, okay, maybe we need to see a therapist? You see, like for your case, where you were saying you had to go and now sit and look back and see, are there things that, you know, examples you have that you can share with us of things that we can look out for and we notice, okay, this could be a childhood issue or just something. I know it's very random, but 1 or 2 examples could help.
For instance, you notice a change of behavior in your child.
Yeah.
Either was very playful,
Yeah.
suddenly doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
Was very outgoing,
Yeah.
suddenly is clingy.
Yeah.
You know, was okay with you leaving the house, suddenly wants to live
Doesn't
with you.
want, yeah.
Some of those things, it's good to find out what's going on, what has changed. Or was fine, suddenly there are serious discipline issues in school. You know, it's easy to just say bad company. You know, we are very quick to just classify things.
True.
In, you know, he must be having bad company, let me change the school. But if kids, they know when you really care.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because sometimes we are too quick on the discipline,
Yeah.
and not as quick on caring and
family.
asking those questions that just say, you know what, something is going on with you. What is it? And kids will say nothing. You say, no, I don't think it's nothing. Tell me what's really going on. And with time, a child will trust you enough to know my mother or my father means well.
Yeah.
That I can tell them about this thing that happened.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that I will not be punished.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the safe space we must create in our homes for our kids. If the child feels they can speak to their parent or whoever, the guardian or somebody close to them, then they'll process a lot of stuff that could easily have gone on. And that's why you hear adults saying, I remember when I was in class 3, this happened.
Imagine.
You know, that's far back. That means there's something unprocessed. Yeah.
I need us to take a short break. But I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, well, I think either all of us, like you've said rightfully, must have gone through trauma, but there could be some of us who are struggling to bounce back. And we've been pushing ourselves and telling ourselves this is, you know, maybe praying about it and, you know, casting all the demons out, but you're still feeling stuck. And like you're saying, that is a place to get help. So hold the thought right there. We'll be right back. And let's allow us to take a short break. Well. Hey, in case you're just joining us, this is Sista Talk on Elevate TV. Today we are talking matters mental health. You know, if you have just been, you know, those topics that you think, not me, I am not part of those. If we've been told it's 1 out of 4 experience mental illnesses or challenges within their lifetime, then if you count 4, chances are high it could be as close as family, it could be you, it could be just anyone near you. So we need to be more aware, more alert, you know, more keen even as we parent, as we work with friends, as we work with our colleagues, so that we don't miss out on opportunities to help others and to get help ourselves. So we'll be right back after the break.
Knowledge is power. Information is liberating. Education is not just preparation for life. Education is life in itself. Great education does not only deliver creative thinkers, problem solvers and innovative minds, but also individuals who are physically, emotionally and spiritually sound. Gospel Light College offers holistic education and much more.
This course has shaped us. I, for once, as a pastor, I'm now well prepared, able to present the gospel in the right way.
My life has been transformed, my ministry has been impacted, and I'm going out there not only to impact the community, but to impact nations.
Such no more. We offer a bachelor's and master's degree in biblical studies and community development, certificate in theology and ministry. We also offer academic writing classes. The January 2023 intake is ongoing. Book your slot today by calling 0748 00 6112. Gospel Light College, a Christ-like worker for a Christ-like church.
Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking matters mental health. We have an amazing guest. Her name is Janice. And in case you're joining us for the first time, this is Sista Talk on Elevate TV. My name is Nenoh Ndiema, and it's a pleasure having you. You know, you've just made time to sit and listen. May God minister to you wherever you are, and that really it's important for you to know that there is nothing to be ashamed about. There's nothing that happens to us that we need to hide. We can go out, we can get help, we can get knowledge, you know, we can get empowered so that we are able to live godly lives and really be victorious in whichever situation or circumstance we find ourselves in. So in case you want to talk to us, just go on our social media handles at Elevate TV Kenya. We'll be so glad to hear from you. I mean, your feedback is important to us. Welcome, Janice.
Thank you.
I mean, before the break, you were just telling us that there's even, me, I'm still at the 1 out of 4.
That's true.
So we are walking, looking very alive.
Yes.
But like the Bible calls us empty tombs.
Yes.
Whitewashed tombs.
Whitewashed
tombs. We look very nice on the outside, well
but
made
there's stuff happening on the inside.
Oh my goodness. So it's boiling in there, but it will only come out
and it will show up at some point.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So it's about dealing instead of waiting for it to overwhelm.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
And it can even cost us our lives?
Absolutely. You know, when mental health, just like I said, early intervention.
Yeah.
So if you're not able to sort it out early,
yeah,
that's when you start having feelings of hopelessness, like feeling like you don't need to be alive, like there's no reason to live. And then you find suicide.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing the suicide rates are very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we always wonder when somebody commits suicide,
yeah,
we always wonder, what happened? I was with this guy.
Imagine.
He's my friend.
Imagine.
I didn't see it. Because
yeah,
you see, mental health,
yeah,
it's called an invisible illness because it's not like, you know, when you have a bump on your leg
yes,
or You know, it's not something you can see.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for it to stay hidden until it blows up. So this is somebody who hasn't dealt and one day decides, I can't leave.
Yeah.
But had they had a conversation with somebody, they'd have realized there's a reason to leave.
So it means it's something that grows with time and becomes too overwhelming, or?
It's just like, let me give an example of cancer.
Yeah.
If you catch cancer at stage 1, there's a high chance that you will fully recover. If you catch cancer at stage 4, it can go anyway. So you want to, when you start feeling a certain way, go see the doctor so that he says, let's investigate. And then they say, you know what, you have this, let's give you medication. You know, and then you're able to sort it. The same thing with mental health. Once you notice it's not okay and you get help early, you will be fine faster than if you let it go longer.
Talk to us about that part of getting help, because I think you've said we need to find safe spaces, but truth be told, not everyone has a safe space. You know, not everyone has somewhere to just run to and just be you. You know, there's a being you. I think we are used in different formats. Like this place, I am this person, but there's this place I can go and just be me. If we don't have safe spaces, what would you recommend? I mean, where does someone start to get help? You know, apart from the safe spaces. If you have safe spaces, well and good. But where can I go from there? I listened to you and I'm thinking, maybe I have a mental health issue. Where do I go from there? What's the best place for me to start?
Okay, before I say that, let me just talk about the safe spaces. I always say that it is important to find a safe space, not when you need it. You cultivate it before. You know, because sometimes, now when I'm in trouble, I'm wondering, who do I go to?
That's true.
You know?
That's deep.
So it's about cultivating this before you need it, you know? Before you need it, so that then when something happens, it's not something you even have to think twice. This is already your safe space.
So right.
But let's assume then you don't have that safe space. It's about realizing that the journey on mental wellness, you know, is a therapist is a first what do I call it? The first point of contact.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it is what a therapist ideally just does is sit across you and help you process and go and figure out the real issue. Now that's all they help you do. It's not something to be scared about. And now we even have therapists online. You know, you can, because people say, you know, it's expensive, I can't afford it. There are therapists you can just, you know, go log in online and be able to talk to somebody. You know, so that then you can begin to process what is this that I'm feeling. Yeah, and this is somebody who is a professional, who is able to look at you from, you know, from the outside in and be able to say, you know what, this is what's going on. And then just go through the journey. If the therapist says you need medication, go for medication. It's just like the way you would go with your leg paining and you're told you need to go and do physiotherapy. You know, physiotherapy is not necessarily, it's all medicine, it's physiotherapy. But then they could also say, you will need to take some painkillers. It's the same thing. Go speak to somebody. The same way we walk into the doctors and just say, I'm having a headache, I don't know what's going on. Or I have a pain in my knee. The same way you should say, I'm struggling, I'm struggling. I was okay, but now I'm just not okay. I am sleeping too much. I am struggling with, you know, just feelings of hopelessness. Something is off. And then they just help you process. It could be something very simple. It could be a work situation that you just need to change around. They help you process that, you know, so that then you're able to get the whole problem solved and go on living.
Wonderful. I mean, you sound like we should just all go to a therapist's office, you know. We should normalize.
We should not fear. We should normalize. You should not be scared. You know, there are people who say, I'm going to see a dentist. But then therapist, you're like, I'm going to see somebody. You know.
Actually, you don't tell.
You're like, I'm going to see somebody. Some doctor. You know, you don't want to say because you already think that you're going to be judged.
Some doctor.
You know, but you say dentist, I'm going to see my eye doctor, I'm going to see, you know, but when it's anything mental,
therapist, are you
have you ever had somebody saying, I'm going to see a psychiatrist? No.
Not at all. No.
Then remember, the 1 out of 4.
Imagine. Imagine.
But
a therapist will help you at least to
process,
clarify.
to clarify. And help you, and even help you with coping skills. Because some things you need some skills.
Yeah.
And it could even be something simple like,
Yeah.
you know what, maybe start processing by writing, journaling.
Wow.
You know, easy things.
Wow.
Or when you feel this way, what do you like doing? Do you like listening to music? Put in some music. So it's more little things that you can change that make a difference that you probably wouldn't have thought on your own. That's where therapist comes
You know,
in.
you're speaking of music, and I'm wondering. I think David was a therapist to Saul.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
it is every time he felt.
Yes. Absolutely.
So they come in handy.
Yes.
And this person will just help you to bring out what is in there.
Yeah, because
and
it's
deal with
different
it.
for everybody.
Yeah.
What works for me?
Yeah.
For me, I enjoy walking.
Yeah. Oh,
So
wow.
I walk and
Oh,
I listen
wow.
to music as I walk.
Oh, wow.
That's my therapy.
Wow.
For somebody else, that
Yeah.
wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It would be a totally different thing.
Yeah.
So just having, and also try and error. You try and keep trying.
Yeah.
Until you get what works
What
for you.
works for you.
Yeah.
So I believe for you, going back to your story in brief, when you started the therapy, you probably needed to do a lot more sessions. And now, do you still see need for therapy, like where your journey has gotten to, or do you feel now you can actually handle pressure or whatever kind of thing that you would have been a trigger then? Are you able to now do without therapy, or it's something that now becomes a part of your life?
So at the beginning,
Yeah.
like you said, therapy is probably every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It will progress maybe to once a month.
Oh, really?
Maybe once every 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So in my case now, I will only see my therapist on a need basis.
Oh.
Something could happen because I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you know, I tell people that we are all one event away from a mental illness. One. You could be fine today and something happens as you walk out of here that changes you completely.
Imagine.
So knowing that, then I have a therapist that I can go to.
Really?
If something
Yes.
happens today and I feel I need to process it with her, I'll just call her and set up an appointment and deal with that thing that I'm feeling and sort it out then.
Wow.
But you see, before I had no space to do that. So what does it do? It just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it explodes.
Yes.
Yeah. So just like any other doctor, I mean, if you're having a serious sickness, you probably see the doctor more often.
Yeah.
Then you don't need to.
Yeah.
Then again, you need only when you feel.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing with therapy.
Interesting. You know, as you're saying about exploding, and I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, does it show up in your, apart from behavior, which you had mentioned, can it actually show up in physical sickness? Now, not just mental. Can your body just break down?
Oh yeah. When your mind is not well,
Wow.
everything else does not work.
Yeah.
So it could be something like a headache.
Yeah.
Headaches that don't go.
Persistent, yeah.
So you start treating migraines
Yeah.
that are not healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people even say suddenly they start getting back problems. And they didn't have any fall or accident, suddenly you have back problems.
Yeah.
So when your brain is not working, it's very easy for other parts of the body not to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can come out in a physical illness.
Oh, no.
Your immunity can go down because stress will affect you. Yeah, so that's why you need to sort it out.
Yeah.
Don't deal with the symptom because you'll then just sort out the symptom.
Yes.
And the disease is still there.
Still there.
And it's still eating
Festering,
you. It's still
yes.
eating you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell us something, because you said, how did you start? But you said, the first thing you said about yourself is that you're a born-again Christian.
Yes, I am.
And just listening to you, and I'm thinking, ooh, that's a lot. Anyone who has gone through mental health issues, and like you've said, I think it's any one of us at any time, yeah? Did you ever struggle with finding God in all this? Because the question would be, where were you? A lot of times when we're going through trauma or going through something, you're like, but God, sorry, I'm in a Christian station, but I'm just being open like another sister would be. And they would probably say, God, but you were not there, and someone is very bitter with God because of their mental health struggles. Could you just speak to us about that?
For sure, there was a time when I was wondering, God, have you checked out? Is there some other business that is more urgent than mine?
Yeah.
Because you're praying and you're feeling like nothing is changing.
Yeah.
And then I read the story of Elijah. I like to call Elijah an MVP, most valuable prophet.
Wow.
He was that guy who was, prophets of Baal have been killed, he was doing so many things. And then when he was threatened with death, And then he went into hiding and he was sleeping under that tree, asking God to take him. And I'm thinking, this is a prophet.
Mighty.
Struggling.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
So that made me realize I'm in good company. I'm in good company. And even David many times struggled.
Yes.
You know, and he
Yeah.
would cry out to God in
Yeah.
the Psalms.
Yeah.
So I struggled with God for a minute.
Yeah.
And I struggled with God, and I'll give a small story.
Yeah.
In 2020, you know, 2020 was a year of COVID.
COVID, yeah.
And it was tough for everybody. So on 31st of December, I went down on my knees and I said to God, you know, God, for 2021, I only have one prayer, that you give me rest. You know? And I thought, this one is an easy one. I'm sure the guys are asking for big things. This one,
This one of mine, you'll give
I'm
me.
like, I know you can do this, God. Yeah. So the year started, January. And then January was fine. February was okay. March, I got COVID.
No.
So I got COVID, and because I'm asthmatic, so it was a bit more complicated for me. I'm thinking, God, I thought we said this is a year of rest. I'm like, did you hear rest or test? You know? So I decided, okay, maybe this is, COVID is happening to many
Everyone.
people, and people are dying, and I'm alive, so
You're
I'm grateful. That was in March. In April, I got a blood clot.
You got
in the
when?
lungs.
You made it through the COVID?
Yes,
clearly.
immediately after.
Wow.
Less than a month later, I got a blood clot, and that was an emergency because, it could be fatal.
Yes.
At that point, I was like, no way. God, imagine, no.
Yeah?
We were discussing rest, God. So I went into hospital, and that was treated. And as a complication from that, I had to do a surgery almost immediately.
Oh, no.
Which was complicated for me, and I almost lost my life.
Yeah.
At this point, I was like, I don't get it.
I didn't say rest.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I was very discouraged. Luckily for me, I have a very strong support system of people that kept praying.
Praise God.
When I couldn't pray, they prayed. You know, so at that point, it's easy to give up on God and say, you know what, if you can't even sort me out on rest now, what else can I trust you? And it's not until a couple of months later when it occurred to me that if God had given me the rest I was asking for, that would have just been, for me, I would have rested and I would have been good. But now he took me through all these things. And now I'm at a space where I can use what I've gone through to reach somebody else.
Glory to God.
Yeah? So I realized, fine, he could have given me exactly what I wanted. But he probably knew what my purpose is, what plans he has for me, and that I would need to go through this journey so that when I tell somebody that you can go through a mental condition and be well, it's not a story.
Yeah.
It's not something I've read.
Yeah.
It's something I've experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When I say that God heals, it's not because I have read, I have seen other people, it's because I've experienced it. So God needed me to go through that for me to be here today.
Wow.
Otherwise, I'd have just been doing stuff and saying, you know what, I had a
enjoying
good rest in 2021. But now I just didn't, I may not have had the rest I wanted at the time, but I wouldn't trade what I went through because of who I am today. Yeah.
At this point, we just must speak to someone.
Yeah.
Someone somewhere is just totally lost with God, you
Yeah.
know. Do you think they should just go and yell at him and tell him as they feel? What do you think? What conversation can they have with God? Or what can they do so that their hearts are lifted again?
I think my message to anybody who is struggling with God is just to encourage you that God is there. He knows you by name. And he may not even answer. He may not answer the prayer you're praying now.
Yeah.
Why? Because he knows if you knew what was ahead, then you'd probably be praying something different. But he knows what's ahead.
Yeah.
That's why he's probably putting you through something.
Yeah.
Don't give up on God. When you look back a couple of months from then, you'll be saying, you know, I see why I had to go through what I had to go through. You can see it because there's nothing that God does that's a fluke. You know, he knows exactly what he's doing and all things. Underline the word all.
Wow.
things work for God.
Good.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Wow. Thank you. I hear a sound of purpose somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because all that pain seems not to have been in vain, you know?
Absolutely.
How has that journey then been for you in terms of finding purpose and being an advocate and all that? From now, when you discovered, okay, this, I'm getting better and I'm being well, what did that do to you? I mean, how did God birth purpose in you for that?
Having gone through what I went through,
Yeah.
and then I began to speak to people, just my friends around,
Really?
my friends, my kids, about mental health and what I was learning and what I'd experienced. And that's when I realized that many of us don't understand it. And every time I spoke to somebody, they're like, you mean that's what it means?
Yeah.
You know? Or when somebody says, this person did this, I'm like, but do you think there could be something more? You know? And then they're like, oh, you know? So I realized that there's a need for people to understand what mental health is.
Yeah.
Most importantly is how to take care of your mental health so that it doesn't become a mental illness.
Yes.
So I started in my circles,
Wow.
just speaking to people.
Wow.
And for me, the idea was if I speak to my kids and they speak to their friends and they speak to their friends, it will just become, you know, it will just become expanded and expanded.
Yeah.
So that's how small I started. And now I look for opportunities to speak to people.
Really?
You know, whether it's small groups, big groups, just to share my story, because I strongly feel that God put me through that for a reason. You know, so that I want to use my story. And they say the highest level of healing is when you use what has happened to you to help another person.
Wow.
So that's purely what I'm doing.
Wow.
And one of the people I really admire is the late Professor Wangari Maathai.
Yeah.
And I remember one time she was giving her story and talking about a hummingbird, the little hummingbird. And she gave a story of the hummingbird in a forest, and there's this big fire, and all the animals are running away because the fire is too big. And this hummingbird is going with its little beak to some water hole and carrying water in drops to the fire. And animals are asking him,
Really?
what are you trying out? I mean, what difference
Can
you make? You see? And the hummingbird just said, you know what, I want to make the smallest difference. You know, whatever difference I can make, I want to make it. No matter how small.
Yes.
So that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
In my little, small way, I want to make a difference. If I can leave this world a better place because I have spoken to somebody, I have made somebody realize they need help, I have become a safe space where people can come and process their stuff, then I'll have done my job.
I was going to ask you about that part of safe, not just a safe space, but are you now more intentional about the relationships you have?
Absolutely.
Really? Because
Absolutely.
people will want to come to you
Yeah.
and, open up. So has your perspective totally changed when you're interacting with people?
It has. And it's small things like your friend has been quiet.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think, what's up with this person? You
Yeah,
just
they're
dismiss
snobbish.
it there.
Yeah.
They've changed.
Yeah.
I'm like, people don't just change. Something is happening. So, you become intentional. And then also, even when you're sitting with people,
Yeah.
and I keep saying, look twice. Look twice. Don't just look and glance away. Because there's something, there could be something there. And people can tell if you're a safe person. If you're the one telling people I'm a safe person, then you're not safe. You're not safe.
You can't advocate.
You can't be advocating
for your safe
safeness.
space.
People should come to you. People
Yeah.
should see the genuineness,
Yeah.
including your kids.
Wow.
They should know when mom says you can come to me and talk to me, she's serious. Yeah, she's serious. And your friends and people can tell when you're a safe person, and they just start coming. Wow. People just come and share stories.
Wow.
They come and sometimes I even think, oh my goodness, where were these people before? But something has changed in me.
Yes.
And people can feel it and they can see it.
Yes.
And they're ready to come and process stuff because now they feel that this person is safe enough. That's my prayer, that many of us can become safe people.
Safe spaces.
For our families, because there's pain.
Yes.
There's pain there.
Yes.
Yeah, and we just don't see it.
Yeah. And hurt people, hurting people hurt people.
Hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people.
When broken people, definitely.
Yeah.
They just pass it on.
Yeah.
So in case, instead of us...
And then sometimes you even find yourself in a chain of even relationships.
Yeah.
You know, cycles that are not ending.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, what is this cycle? It's because there's something you haven't dealt. So you keep getting yourself in the same situations, because you're attracting them because of things you haven't dealt.
Don't say it.
Yeah, so I think for me it is so important that we begin to deal, and I have taken the space of my purpose is to go out there.
Wow.
And just talk to people, make people understand, make people begin to find it easy to get help, you know. Come to me, I will tell you where to go, or yeah, just be that person. That for now, that's my purpose. Yeah,
it could even grow into something else, but you sound so clear.
I'm very
so passionate
I'm very
about
clear.
it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have your life back?
I have.
Or
my
you even
life
have a new
back.
life? I don't know.
It's I don't even know whether it's a new season. It's not a new season. It's a new life. To be honest, it's a new life. I look at things completely differently from the way I would have looked at them before.
Bless God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm so thankful that God put me through what He did, because
Yes.
had He not,
Yes.
I would have been just doing life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably in the lowest of standards and just letting it be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But He had to put me
Wow.
through that pain.
Wow. Wow. Could you tell us just one, okay, I don't know, no, safe spaces are not allowed to share. I was just going to say one success story that you could easily say someone actually spoke to you and you've seen their lives change without delving deep into, you know, have you found yourself really being in purpose until you see a situation where God was, you know, God just used you to literally salvage someone from, you know, stress or pain or something that they've gone through, and that really gave you a lot of energy?
Gosh, I think there have been many situations now that I find myself just asking myself, wow, did that just happen? Did that just happen? I've seen people on the verge of making decisions around their relationships or their marriages. And I've asked, you know, it's just about asking the right questions, you know, and then somebody says, okay, maybe we need to check this out. Maybe there's something there. And a lot more around kids. When people complain about, I've had our friends complain about their kids and discipline and not wanting a certain school or different things. And then just letting the parents know, just because this is the best school in the world in your view, doesn't mean it's the best school for your child. Yeah. Maybe you need to find out what is it about that school that makes that child uncomfortable. They could have gone through a bullying. Sometimes kids go through even where they're bullied and threatened, you know, and then all they can do is come and say, I don't want to go back to school and I can't talk about it, because they don't want you to go back to the school and report, and then they go back to the same school and are in trouble with the people. So I've had a lot of those where people just come and want to process certain things, and I become their point of light. Yeah.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing. You tell, I'm sure you appreciate partnering with God.
Absolutely.
To bring healing to someone else, the same way healing was brought to you.
Yeah, with the same comfort that we're given, we go out and comfort others. That's
just like the hummingbird.
Just like the hummingbird.
Wow, what a beautiful story. It is indeed, Yani, it's so encouraging to just listen to you and see that sometimes we could be going through stuff and feeling so lost and hopeless, but yet God has a divine plan and divine purpose for each and every life and each and every person. Thank you so much, Janice. I mean, I wish we had 2 hours to just keep going and keep talking, but what a blessing. May God bless your family, bless your purpose, and continue to cause you to grow, and just bless the work of your hands.
Amen.
Indeed. Wow. Thank you so much, guys. I mean, if you're just like me, I feel like I just need a safe space. I need someone to just go sit and process and just look at. Sometimes I think we need to evaluate our lives every time and see, where are we? Where are we with God? Where are we emotionally? But let me not be the preacher today. Thank you for making time to watch this show and many others. Go on our social media platforms at Elevate TV Kenya. We'll be glad to hear from you. So that's all we had time for today. But until next time, God truly bless you.